The cafe was warm that afternoon, the kind of cozy place where the smell of freshly baked bread lingered in the air and soft music floated gently above the hum of conversations. Outside, the world bustled with people chasing their routines, but inside, time seemed to slow down. A man named Daniel walked in with his little daughter, Emma, her small hand curled into his. She was only 5, a curious child with wide brown eyes and a heart that seemed far older than her years. They found a corner table by the window, where sunlight poured in, painting golden patterns on the worn wooden floor. Emma's legs swung beneath the chair, too short to touch the ground, while Daniel scanned the menu. But Emma's attention was already elsewhere. Her gaze had wandered across the cafe, where a young waitress in her late 20s moved between tables with a polite smile. Yet, no matter how carefully she masked it, there was a heaviness in her expression, redness around her eyes, a tremor in her voice whenever she spoke. Emma tugged at her father's sleeve and whispered softly, "Daddy, why is she crying inside?" Daniel followed his daughter's eyes. At first, he almost brushed it off. Kids often saw things adults missed, but when he looked closely, he realized Emma was right. The waitress wasn't crying outwardly, but her soul seemed heavy, her heart burdened with something unsaid. Her smile faltered whenever no one was watching, and her shoulders slumped like she carried the weight of 1,000 worries. The question hung in the air. Daniel's throat tightened. Children, with their innocent clarity, saw truths adults ignored. "Maybe she's just having a hard day," he whispered back, unsure of what else to say. But Emma wouldn't let it go. Her little hands pressed against the table as she looked up at him. "Can we help her, Daddy?" Something stirred in Daniel's chest. He had taught Emma about kindness, about noticing people, but he hadn't expected her to remind him of those lessons in this quiet cafe. He nodded slowly. "Yes, sweetheart. We can try." The waitress came over, forcing another polite smile as she asked what they'd like to order. Daniel gave their order, but Emma, with her small, unfiltered voice, looked at her and asked, "Miss, why are you sad?" The waitress froze, the question piercing straight through her carefully built walls. She blinked quickly, fighting tears, and gave a shaky laugh. "Oh, honey, I'm not sad. I'm fine." But Emma tilted her head, unconvinced. "Daddy says it's okay to cry. My mommy is in heaven, and sometimes Daddy cries when he misses her. Crying makes your heart lighter." The cafe fell silent around their table. Daniel's heart clenched at Emma's words. His late wife was never far from their lives, but he hadn't expected Emma to bring her up so openly to a stranger. The waitress pressed a hand to her mouth, her composure breaking. A tear slipped down her cheek before she quickly wiped it away. "I'm sorry," she whispered. Daniel leaned forward gently. "You don't have to apologize. My daughter, she notices things. And sometimes she's right. Are you okay?" The waitress hesitated, then shook her head. "No, not really." Her voice cracked. I'm working double shifts to keep up with bills. My mother is sick, and I don't know how I'll pay for her medicine this month." I try to smile, but it feels like I'm drowning. Daniel felt his chest tighten with empathy. He had once been there. After losing his wife, struggling to raise Emma alone, wondering how to move forward. Before he could speak, Emma slipped off her chair and walked to the waitress. The little girl wrapped her tiny arms around her waist, looking up with innocent sincerity. "It's okay. My mommy says from heaven that kind people always get help. You're not alone." The waitress broke then, kneeling down and hugging Emma tightly, tears streaming down her face as if years of silence had finally cracked open. Customers around the cafe watched, some looking away with tears in their eyes, others smiling softly at the purity of the moment. Daniel reached into his wallet when the waitress walked away to bring their order. He tucked a folded bill, a generous tip, far more than the cost of their meal, into the receipt folder. When she returned, he looked at her firmly but kindly. "Don't give up. You're stronger than you know. And sometimes, help comes from places we least expect. Today, maybe it's from us." She saw the tip and shook her head, protesting, but Daniel raised his hand. "No, don't refuse it. This isn't charity. This is gratitude for the way you've shown strength, even when it's hard. Take it as a reminder that the world hasn't forgotten you." Her lips trembled as she whispered, thank you so much." As Daniel and Emma left the cafe, Emma looked up at him with a proud smile. "Daddy, did we make her heart lighter?" Daniel's eyes grew misty, and he kissed the top of her head. Yes, sweetheart, you did. That day, a little girl's innocent question broke through walls of silence and despair. And in the quiet corner of a small cafe, compassion and innocence reminded everyone watching that even the smallest act of kindness, the notice of a child, the hug of comfort, the generosity of a stranger, can heal wounds deeper than we know. Because sometimes, all it takes to change someone's story is one innocent voice asking, "Daddy, why is she crying inside?"